Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Ruxpin.
I'm in Fuego here.
Here to finally do one of our Patreon requests after getting through as busy of an October as we've ever seen. We are here to talk about Tusk. Woo. This is the one that actually won the October Patreon poll. So y'all voted to have us do this, or at least this one got the most votes. And this is a movie written and directed by Kevin Smith, based on a very weed-driven podcast by the name of Smodcast that Kevin Smith does with his best bro Scotty Moe, Scott Mosier, who actually, incidentally, former producing partner and director of the just released The Grinch. He's one of the two directors of that.
No kidding?
Yeah.
He's into that now.
Yeah. Yep. So he's working on that for 4 years apparently. But yeah, this movie is based on an idea that came up in an episode of Smodcast that basically he and Kevin Smith just spitball stuff back and forth most every episode, and they read an ad in a Canadian newspaper that was about a guy that said he had stories to tell, and he had a room for rent, except you wouldn't have to pay rent if you were willing to dress up as a walrus once a week for 2 hours. And he said it's because he was an old seafaring man that befriended a walrus when he was shipwrecked once upon a time, and that's why he wants to do it. And they read this article and they were laughing hysterically and this would make a really good horror movie. And so they developed it over the course of the podcast, and the result was Tusk, where Kevin Smith tells the story. Well, before we get into the story, let's give our overall thoughts, because this is definitely out. It's Kevin Smith's second horror movie.
It's out there.
After Red State. And it is definitely out there, fueled again by marijuana. But utilizing a couple of really, really good actors. So I have seen it twice now, once when it first came out and then once just today before filming this review, and I actually liked it more this time, but overall I'm still just it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It doesn't blow my socks off, but it's pretty good. Yeah. Marcia, your thoughts overall?
So I watched it for the first time a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't have an opportunity to watch it before that. And we kind of went into it blind. We're like, oh, you know what? Tusk. I know the show's watched this. And I think it got okay review. So let me go ahead and let's just watch it. We were just looking for something random to watch. And I think we all left the living room feeling a little uneasy. A little confused, but overall just kind of wow. Because it was good, and it was weird, and it was terrifying, and it had Justin Long in it.
Yeah, asshole podcaster.
I love Justin Long, though. Yeah. I don't know why. Anyway.
Jeepers Creepers.
I don't know. Dodgeball. I mean.
Waiting.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to Tusk. I thought it was good. I think I had no idea what I was walking into, because you know how I like to view movies is knowing nothing when I watch them, and I'm glad I knew nothing, because I think I saw it with really, really fresh eyes, and yeah, I think Red State is better, but this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm the opposite, actually. I felt like Red State just didn't do it for me. This feels more akin to Kevin Smith's sensibilities for me, and I felt like it balanced the comedy with the darkness a lot better. There's really nothing comedic about Red State. That was him just trying to make a serious, religiously charged horror film, and I felt like it kind of fell flat. But for me, this movie is it's very strange, and the lesson that you have to learn is that you don't go full Tusk, and you don't go full Tusk, bro.
Full walrus.
And it leaves you feeling very uneasy at the end. The final scene, without divulging anything, I was just like, wow, I just felt kind of empty inside.
Yeah,
I've seen it twice.
Point, right?
Yeah. When I first saw it, I really was not a fan, but I watched it again. Oh boy, maybe a few months ago, because I just because I own it, just out of boredom, and I think I got into some talk about Yoga Hosers with somebody, which is the second in this True North trilogy that he claims he's still going to be finishing with Moose Jaws at some point. Who the hell knows? He's having trouble finding funding for it from what I've read. But it's quirky. It's weird. I mean, you've got those two girls, him and Johnny Depp's daughters. You know, they make their first appearance in this as little side characters. Justin Long has some interesting interactions with them, and then they get their own little spin-off movie. This is far superior to Yoga Hosers, you know, at least in my estimation. That was way less of a horror movie than this was. Overall, I can't say I love it. I can't say I've loved anything Kevin Smith has done since probably the last Jersey film. Well, not the last one, but Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Didn't really love Clerks 2. Zack and Miri's okay. Jersey Girl, ugh. But, so, I don't know. At the end of the day, it was an interesting... This got it right balancing tone-wise, as opposed to being just too silly, like with Yoga Hosers, or too graphic and over the top and just uninspired, in my opinion, with Red State. This porridge was just right. So...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So the story is about one podcaster in particular. Justin Long has a podcast with Haley Joel Osment of all people.
So good.
He looks about the same.
Well, he's plumped up a little bit.
Bit.
So they're podcasters, and Justin Long, basically the premise of their podcast, the Nazi Party, which is NOTSEE
Spell it
Party.
out.
Yeah, you have to spell it out. But basically the premise is Justin Long goes on these wacky adventures to meet and interview different kinds of people, and then he comes back and tells Haley Joel Osment's character about it, because he doesn't see it, so that's where they get their stupid title from. I think that was a bit of a stretch in the writing department from Kevin. But yeah,
for you, bro.
so he's going to interview, he's taking a trip to Canada to interview what they call the Kill Bill Kid, who is essentially a play on the Lightsaber Kid, right? What did they call him? He had a different name, but Star Wars Kid. I think they called him the Star Wars Kid. He was just a kid that just, wielded a lightsaber in threatening ways, but he was not a guy that clearly knew how to handle it very much. So they make fun of that, and it's this kid playing with a sword, and he actually accidentally cuts off his own leg. So Justin Long's going up to interview him, and it turns out that the interview is unable to be progressed with. And Justin Long has to find a substitute because he doesn't want to waste his $500 trip to Canada. So he's at this bar, and he sees this ad in the bathroom where this old man basically says the same thing about like the ad that I explained at the beginning, where he's looking for a roommate and he wants to tell his stories. And so Justin Long's like, wow, this is perfect. He calls him up, and the guy's like, sure, come over tonight. He goes over, and it's this sort of ritzy looking place, and this character is played by Michael Parks, who is, a very good Hollywood actor, and he's been in a lot of things, including being the sheriff from Dusk Till Dawn at the very beginning.
Yeah, well-esteemed guy.
Yep, he was also in Red State. He was the bad guy in Red State. Yep. But he basically is talking to Justin Long, telling him his storied past. He knew Hemingway, all this stuff. Really interesting things. And it turns out that he has drugged the tea. And his plan is to not tell stories, but instead turn Justin Long into a living walrus embodiment. Because he misses his friend, the walrus. That much.
And they did kind of an interesting, since it's been a minute since I've seen it, there was, as he was doing the storytelling aspect, they
did flashbacks.
Yeah, and they did do it, they filmed it in, boy, I'm trying to recall if it was in some sort of animated or very kind of psychedelic manner of some sort.
Not really. It was just black and white.
Okay, well, I know that there was some specific aspect to the way that they framed it that was distinctive and interesting.
So what did you think of the story, Marcia, how it played out? Without spoiling, of course.
Yeah, no, I thought they did a good job with it, because I felt like it flowed. It was organic, even though it got weird, and they went full Tusk.
Yeah, they did.
And no one was expecting that, especially anybody in my house. We had no idea what we were watching until that happened. We're like, what? I thought they did a good job of it. It's so weird and it's so uneasy, but at the same time, like, you have to give where credit's due. Like, you weren't expecting it, and it flowed together, and you're just like, oh, well, like any other movie, he's gotta get out of it somehow, and then you're like, oh, well, maybe. I don't know. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I wasn't so big on a few of the subplots, most notably the girlfriend with the co-host kind of thing, fun. You know. But I don't know. I mean, after they actually get there, with the exception of the whole, there's kind of like a walrus fight thing of sorts, which is pretty. That's once they're past the point of no return, and you see how crazy, even with a PG-13 rating, they're gonna go with this particular film, and so. I'm
surprised I got a PG-13 because it was so traumatizing.
Traumatizing, but it's not particularly gory or anything. I mean, would you call it body horror? I guess you probably would.
Definitely.
Yeah. But
if I was 13, I would be traumatized by that.
Yeah, I can't say I was really that compelled until we actually got long to the property of this guy, and then they really started going for it. The whole. He's kind of an asshole, and you're not supposed to like him that much, but then you kind of feel sorry for him with the predicament that he gets himself into. And so it was an interesting switcheroo, but based on the way that they portrayed him earlier in the film, I didn't find myself sympathizing as much with the situation, but at least until near the very end. But
now let's talk about the acting. Justin Long, we all agree we like. He's good. He wasn't particularly enjoyable as an asshole. I like him in a lot of other roles more.
I didn't buy into it as much.
Yeah.
More margaritas.
That's from Hollywood Babylon. But yeah, it's he did pretty good. I was really more impressed with Michael Parks, of course, because he just takes the opportunity to really chew the scenery at times, and it's so much fun to watch, honestly. And then his Haley Joel Osment, and then his girlfriend. I didn't really care one way or another for them. I just was so focused on the two leads that's all that mattered to me. What about you guys as the acting?
I mean, I think we're all in agreement here. I mean, the side quest, as we can call it, was, I mean, it was just of convenience. They needed something to push the story forward so they could have the ending. And yeah, there wasn't much of a story there, and it was supposed to really just be about Tusk and about, Justin Long and, what is his name? Michael
Parks.
Michael Parks. I'm awful with names. But, I mean, I just think, and there's not much more to say. I think Justin, I liked watching Justin as an asshole, and I thought Michael Parks did a great job. Like, I think playing the victim and then playing the villain, and just really taking it to that next level and just slowly getting you there instead of just kind of throwing it all up at once. I thought they did a really good job. And then, I mean, Justin Long kind of just had to, like, when he turns, man, I mean, it's so strange.
Yeah, it's sad.
Fuego, your thoughts on the acting?
Yeah, it is really just, it boils down to Long and Parks, and all the scenes with the two of them in it, once we finally get to it, are great. Everything else is pretty secondary, whether it's I see dead people man baby because he looks just like a man boy version of himself, and the slightly plump, as you mentioned, and also the introduction of the French Canadian detective played by Johnny Depp, who gets a much larger role in the second film. He becomes a main character, but he's the one who's just kind of investigating things, and his prosthetic nose and eating at the weird, is it like a donut shop or something that he's at? And I'm just like, it's just weird. I mean, he plays that role so strange. It's just.
I mean, that's how unnoticeable it was, and just so weird that I just blocked it all out.
Like a lot of people didn't recognize him with the prosthetics and stuff on.
I think when you said it, I'm like, I recognized that I did recognize him then, but recapping the movie, it went in the back of my mind. It was just so not important to the whole rest of the film.
Well, let's talk about the effects. Yeah. I mean, the practical effects were all over this. I mean, the practical walrus suit is the big star.
It's slimy, sludgy. It's gross.
What's gross. What I noticed much more this time than I did the first time was that, because it's essentially sewn together human skin into a giant walrus suit.
Yeah.
And at some point, the angles reveal that some of the patches are like ears, faces, and things like that. And it looked so cool when I was looking at it a little bit closer this time. It's still unfortunately does look like a giant rubber suit.
Yeah.
But, you know, you gotta wonder what he filled the inside with. They never reveal that, so it's curious, you know.
Curious or incurious.
But yeah, they did go full walrus, but they didn't fully explain it, so it kind of left it out there a little bit.
Yeah, the odd acclamation. I don't know. Everyone has their breaking points, I guess, without spoiling anything, and the level of trauma that was put into this character, it just sometimes you can't go back, man. I mean, it's like a Pandora's box opening sort of situation.
You can't unsee what you see in this movie. You just like, and I think that was what I said at the end of it was like, I can't unsee that.
I also really liked the effect of what he sees when he's in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, and you're like, and then when you think about how many people this guy had to have killed,
Yup.
Mm-hmm.
It's
well, that's what Gila Point is
terrifying.
chasing. He's after the guy that killed 23 people. Yeah,
right.
yeah. It's
But there's more than 23 people though.
looks like it.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, so a lot of great effects in this, even if they're practical, and some of them look
Takes
a little bit
to
silly.
get to them,
Yeah,
but once there, man. I
Once
mean,
there, it's
convincing.
yeah.
It's only a slight essence of disbelief. You know, I mean, just roll with it. I think this is the best thing that Kevin. It's all Stephen King on the brain all the time. This is the best thing for me that Kevin has done since he ended the first 5, Jersey films. At least for me.
Fair enough.
So even better than Clerks 2. I know some people really like Clerks 2. I'm just not so good.
Marcia, did you ever get around to watching Yoga Hosers?
No.
The Brazzi.
Do you have an interest in watching a movie about the 2 clerk girls from Tusk?
Not really.
Not even if Johnny Depp reprises his Gila Point role?
No.
Well.
I feel like maybe if the third
If Moose Jaws comes out?
If he comes out with Moose Jaws, I'll watch that.
You'll have to watch it to bridge your gap.
Yeah, I'll have to. I mean,
Johnny
who
Depp.
knows? Maybe one day it'll be on, and I'll be all like, well.
It's on Netflix, so.
Depp has gone on record to say he wants to be eaten by the moose in that third movie.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's as good a place to end this review as any. Why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below, what did you think of Tusk? Be interested to hear y'all's opinion. Oh, before we go real quick, let me just say that the cinematography, while Kevin has evolved, there's still a lot of tripod shots that are used in this movie.
Well, yeah, that's why some of the best scenes are where it's just like when you're in the home once he finally gets there, and it's the 2 of them sitting and talking and him telling the stories, and it's just
Well, that's always what Kevin excelled at, was 2 people talking.
Yeah, that's why we grew to love him.
His whole between Jay and Silent Bob and the Clerks and Clerks 2 and everything is a pair of people talking most all the time.
Dogma.
Dogma, exactly. I just wish that the cinematography was a little bit more creative in this one, but he's it's still more than it used to be, so he's
State
improved.
actually had some very good cinematography.
I agree.
I will say.
I agree. I think the
shot
cinematography was better in
I
Red
just
State,
had some issues with the writing in that one.
No,
but,
Red State's awesome.
All right, well, why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below, like I said, what you thought of this one. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
How much burger?
Gracias. I've been humming Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.
Don't go for walrus.